Alright, so we're going to show off the Ninja Star deck that I've been doing really well with. I've been sharing it on X, on Facebook, as well as Reddit. This is a Terra Greninja and Starmie deck. I played it in about 5 online events recently on Limitless, and 4 of them I came 5-2. A lot of matchups that were won were actually against Dragapult. I'm 9-3 in the past 4 or 5 events now with this deck. So I want to take this opportunity to show you guys a brief outline of how the deck works, the card choices, and hopefully we can get into one match and you can see how the deck functions. So I'm going to show off the deck real quick. Okay, so this is Ninja Star. That's what I've called it. So if you want to know what this deck is about, straight by the name Ninja Star, it is Greninja and Starmie. Those are the key focuses of this deck, but there's also Froslass and Dusknoir. And these are support Pokemon in this deck. You're mostly navigating most matchups through Starmie. But ironically, it is not a Starmie deck in the traditional sense, so you're not playing the Monkey Dory in this deck. You're also not operating like a typical Starmie Dusknoir deck, but it has some of those elements. The key focus in this deck really is about establishing a board presence. You want to have Starmie to start off every game. That is the most consistent aspect of this game plan. But then from there, it's adaptable. It really depends on where your hand is, what your opponent is playing, and it's very reactive and adaptive, right? So it's going to be based on the game state, what your opponent is playing, and that's where the multiple lines of plays come in. The different decision trees, and so this is what makes it a very technical deck. But the more reps you have with it, the more you play the deck, the more it begins to unfold. You start to see the interactions, the synergies, and whatnot. So let me walk through first the Pokemon in this deck. We have a Shaman, which was a Badoo, but I went with the Shaman because of the uptick in Slowking. You definitely want to have an answer for that deck. This deck does a pretty good job against Slowking to begin with because we are running Starmie, a one-shot Slowking. But the Shaman is extra protection against Kyurem so that you don't get blown out early on. So the Shaman is what you want to grab against Slowking. But it's also relevant against the Starmie mirrors. And there's a lot of them. So you could protect your bench from Starmie while you crack back with your own. I have a 3-2-2 line of Greninja. There is no Mega Greninja in this deck. I think it's possible to play one. There's definitely an opportunity to play Mega Greninja in this deck, but if you do, you have to make some concessions. Like, for example, I'm running 5 Water Energy. With Mega Greninja, I think you do want to be around 6, although I've seen Dragapult Greninja lists run with like 3 or 4 Water. I don't think that's ideal for Greninja. I think it's like a half-assed Greninja deck at that point. So if you do play Mega Greninja in this deck, I'd say 1 is just fine. The focus definitely has to be Terra Greninja, and you want to add at least 1 more energy. You could go to 9, or you could potentially drop 1 Ignition, but I'm telling you right now, Ignition energy is one of the key aspects of this deck. It's what makes this deck tick, because it allows you to one-shot a lot of Pokemon with Starmie because of Nebula Beam doing 210. Whereas most Starmie decks, you're playing 1 to 2 Ignition energy. In this deck, you got 3, potentially 4, even considered a 4th copy. It's that good. This attack right here can take out Fez, Latias, can one-shot Teal Mask, and a slew of other Pokemon, right? So I don't like the idea of cutting an Ignition energy, but if you're trying to find room for another water, I'd say that's an opportunity. Or you can shave one of the trainers. If you are to cut a trainer for an energy, I think the card you go for is the Salvatore, unfortunately. Salvatore is a flex card. It's there for either a 3rd Hilda or a 4th Ultra Ball. I like the Salvatore. It comes up when you go 2nd. I have tried to improve this deck's going 2nd. That's where Badoo came in, but I think Salvatore is a bit stronger here because you open up another door for potential dunk opportunity early on. So I went with Salvatore. But if you do want to switch over to Mega Greninja, I'd say Salvatore is the card you cut for an extra energy. But then you also want to have a second Night Stretcher for those water energies. At that point, the only other card I can see cutting is maybe one of the stadiums. I'd probably drop the Gravity Mountain because now you have 3 Stage 2 Pokemon where you don't really want your Mega Ninja to be down at 320. So I think that's the one you cut for an extra Night Stretcher. Everything else I'd say stays the same in this list. But yeah, those are the ones that you want to cut. And as far as Pokemon to add the Mega Ninja, the flex spots here are the second Dusclops because you don't really need the second Dusclops. I just like having it because I am playing the tree and you want to have an opportunity to go from Duskull to Dusknoir. And if you don't have the Dusclops, that defeats the purpose of that. But you could get away with playing one and then doing it like Dragapult does, doing a 1-1-1 line, and then having a Night Stretcher, a second Night Stretcher in the deck to make multiple uses of them. So that's one card I could cut for Mega Ninja. The other one people have looked at is Latias. I don't like the idea of cutting Latias. It actually carries a lot of weight when you have those bad starts with a Meowth, for example, or you have Pheasantipity starting with, or Shaman. This deck wants to maximize efficiency and resource management, right? You don't want to burn an energy to retreat when you could use that energy for one of your attackers, right? And we're only running 5 water and 1 Night Stretcher. So the idea of retreating in this deck and burning energy doesn't feel good. And then you have scenarios where they're going to boss up one of your Pokemon that isn't water when you have a Surfing Beach and you're stuck having to blow an energy when that could go towards, Mirage Barrage or your Starmie. So again, I want maximize the efficiency in this deck, so Latias is there for those situations where you have a bad opener. It does make it less detrimental. But this is a flex card. If you play the Mega Ninja, another evolution line, I'd say maybe Latias can be the other potential cut. So next we have 1 Snorunt and 1 Froslass. When this deck first was revealed, it came in 25th Day 2 in Utrecht, and it actually ran 2 Snowrunts, 1 Froslass. I don't believe it ran any Starmies. And it was just playing the Dusk line, Greninja, and Froslass, along with the Meowth and Fez and whatnot. I found after playing at the Cup on May 24th, I ran a split of 1 Starmie, 1 Froslass, and most of my wins were going through Starmie. So that to me was an eye-opener. It's like, okay, I'm starting off most matches with Starmie. I actually lost against Lucario in round 5 because my Mega Starmie was in my prizes, and that feels bad. Especially when you have the opportunity to hit a Solrock, crack 50 to Riolu, and then reducing Mega Lucario's life. So I went with a 1-1 line, and in this deck with Salvatore, you do have those opportunities where you can play Snorunt and evolve the same turn, so you don't risk losing your Snorunt. Only having 1 Night Stretcher is a liability. You don't really want to lose your Snorunt, so you got to play it strategically here. When there's that opening, and also you play Grand Tree, so you have assurance to get to your Froslass. But yeah, I optimized it by playing 2 Staryus, 2 Starmies instead, because the main focus of the deck is really leading with Starmie and then establishing a board state through Greninja as the backup attacker. And then I have the 2 Staryus, 2 Starmies, and I have a 2-2-1 line of Duskull, Dusclops, and Dusknoir. These are also amazing in this deck because they allow you to have the one-shot opportunities with Starmie, with Froslass, Greninja. They're also really, really good at closing out games, and they just work well. You can play them off tree if you want. You can also rare Candy in this deck into a Dusknoir. So yeah, that's my 2-2-1 line there. And the Latias for the explanations I just provided. The 1 Pheasantipity for recovery and 2 Meowths. I like 2 Meowths in this deck because it needs to get, everything needs to glue together, and Meowth is that card to do that. So you have the 2 Hildas, 2 Tenacity, and then there's opportunities where you can grab the Salvatore. early on, but you can also grab Wallies at one point of the game. You can grab, Boss's Orders. It carries a lot of weight, so I did go with the 2 Meowths. I think it's really, really important in this deck. And then as you see, as I play the deck, I'll explain more how a lot of it comes together. There's times where you don't play Tree early on. You hold on to Tree, or you hold on to Tenacity, and then play it at the right time to create a blowout situation where you're playing Tree and then evolving right into your Pokemon and creating that blowout situation. I just think that Meowth's role in that is too important to drop down to 1. And then you also have Night Stretcher, which has come up too, where you Night Stretcher a Meowth and then you can grab something else. As for the trainers, I'm on 4 Buddy Poffin. I also have 3 Pokepads. Let's see here. I'm running. It's not loading here. I have 2 rare candies. When the list came out, it was running 2 Dusknoirs, so it was running 3 rare candies altogether. I didn't think it was necessary when I shaved the 1 Dusknoir, so I'm on 2 rare candies. Then I have 3 Ultra Balls, which can be 4, but I opted for the Salvatore. 1 red card because you need to respect those decks that are coming out hot, and you want to disrupt them, like Alakazam, even Dragapult, Hydrapple, those decks that really get those knockouts early. And then for the stadiums, these were meticulously chosen. Grand Tree needs to be here. It is the best A-Spec. I've tried other ones. This is what makes the deck tick. Don't want any other A-Spec but Grand Tree. Gravity Mountain, again, is to create those one-shot opportunities. You can drop Dragapult down to 290, Grimmsnarl, Mega Greninja to 320, and these allow you to play, Starmie's 120, the Jetting Blow plus the Nebula Beam creates a knockout for 330, right? So you're knocking out any Pokemon at 330 HP without the help of Dusknoir. So the Gravity Mountain does help in those situations. And then I went with Surfing Beach because this deck does run the multiple Starmies and the Froslass, and I thought that just playing 1 Surfer or 1 Air Balloon or Switch just didn't do enough for me, because there were situations where I did actually want to swap multiple times between a Froslass and a Starmie until I got a Wally's Compassion, and this card allows you to do that. Sometimes you want to actually use it to switch a Pokemon out into the active, and then you want to Lily, and then maybe you found an Ignition Energy, right, for your Starmie on the bench, and you brought up the Froslass, but now you can retreat your Froslass for only 1 energy and then use Nebula Beam, for example, right? So, I actually, a lot of situations, I like bringing up Froslass first because it only needs 1 to retreat, and then if I don't need it, I only need 1 to retreat as opposed to 2 from the Starmie. But yeah, so Surfing Beach carries a lot of weight here for that. But also, again, this deck really wants to maximize efficiency and versatility. So you want to find cards that cross-perform, right? So because every slot is important. There's only 60 cards in the deck. You want to maximize their potential. So Surfing Beach is also going to be one of those cards where, yes, it's going to help you retrieve for free, but you can also Tenacity for the Surfing Beach to knock out one of their stadiums, right? Whether it's Force Vitality, Academy at night, Team Rocket's Watchtower, which can affect your Meowth. So it serves multiple purposes. You got to think of this deck as a cross-performing, multi-purpose, versatile deck, right? That can open up different lines at any given game, any given matchup. So yes, it serves its purpose to retreat for free, but it also allows you to knock out one of their stadiums. I thought that 2 stadiums was not enough for this kind of deck, where you want to establish your game plan. You have other stadiums that can disrupt your game plan, so I liked the Surfing Beach. As far as any additional, I'd opt for something that Meowth can find. So if you're looking for another way to retreat your Pokemon, I like Surfer. I also like Karen. There are decks that have Switch, but again, kind of like the red card situation or Rare Candy, you can't find them unless you're playing Patrol, which is another card I have considered for this deck, to find those trainers items. But I found that between Latias retreating all your other basics and Surfing Beach retreating your water, it's been just enough. If you take out the Latias, then yeah, I'd say you want to probably play another card to retreat your Pokemon. There's 2 Boss's Orders. This is fine. But there have been situations where I did want a third copy because, for example, when you're playing in Slot Box and there's a lot of Pokemon that have 210 HP or less, right? Raging Bolt can blow you out. In that matchup, you really want to navigate through Starmie and Boss's Orders, right? You want to knock out as many of their 210 and below Pokemon as you can, and that's your prize map, right? So you're going to knock out a Clefairy, a Latias, and a Fez, and you can win the game through Starmie. When you only have two bosses, one could be in your prize, Meowth can grab you the other one, but you're then stuck in a situation where you have to put a Dusknoir in play to one-shot a Raging Bull that has 240. You want to try to get Greninja then, right, to one-shot Kangaskhan, right? But then it requires more work. In this matchup, you want to be as efficient as possible, so having multiple Boss's Orders and having a 3 Ignition Energy and Starmie is your line to victory against that matchup. So I have considered a third boss in this deck. Then there's the 2 Tenacity, 2 Hilda, which was 3, but I opted for the Salvatore. And then I have the 4 Determination and the 1 Wise Compassion, which was not in the original list, but it was only playing 1 Froslass. Since moving to 2 Starmies and 1 Froslass, I thought that the Wise Compassion was very, very important. There are games where you literally can just ride 1 Starmie the whole way, which I've done multiple times, and Wise Compassion comes up, in those matchups. And then as far as the energy, I'm on 5 Water and 3 Ignition. So that is the deck. Now we're gonna play a match, because then I do have to go get my son. Hopefully it is a good one. Let's give it a run. Let's see what we're up against. Hopefully it's one where I can show off what this deck can do. Hopefully it's not Zoroark, Hydrapple, Raging Bolt, or Alakazam. Those are the 4 toughest matchups for this deck, because 3 of the 4 have one-shot potential, like we do, in the Raging Bolt, and then Alakazam and Hydrapple. And then Zoroark is very versatile like we are. They have multiple lines of play. They have Reshiram, which makes it difficult for us to attack into it unless we can one-shot it. So those are the 4 difficult matchups for this deck, if you're wondering. It's taking a bit to load. Don't know why. There we go. I apologize for the slowness today. And also with this deck, you always want to go first because you do want to evolve and you want to potentially have the turn to tree if it comes up. All right, they chose, let's see. Okay, so they're going to choose. Hopefully they allow us to go first. Nope. All right, so in this situation, it's going to be important to still establish Starmie. And don't know why this is doing that. Okay, there we go. This is unfortunate. We're not going to drop the Meowth. We're going to start with Latias. Again, as I explained earlier, it's one of those situations where this is why we play Latias, because if you do have a Meowth, it's not fun. But yeah, okay, so they're playing Snorunt too. The reason why it's going a little slow, I think, is because I'm also running the program OBS in background. I'll have to look into that. Okay, so this is Lopunny. Actually, this matchup is really good for us because we do run the Greninja. It can one-shot Lopunny, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We are playing the Tenacity, so what we're going to do next turn is grab a couple Froakies, maybe a Froakie and a Staryu, and then start setting up the Greninja. So if I can see, oh, look at that, even better. Okay, so we're gonna play Buddy, and we're gonna grab a Froakie. The slowness is killing me. Sorry, guys. And a Staryu. Okay. Now, the next thing that we want to do, we don't need to play the Tenacity, but we absolutely do want to have an energy. So we're going to play the Meowth. And yes, now a couple options here. We could go for a turn 1 Starmie, all right, but we don't have the energy. So if we did have it though, if we had the energy right now, that would be the play. It would be Salvatore into Starmie, and you're going to retreat lines for free and then crack for 120 and 50 to that. But instead, we are going to grab the Hilda. We did not play a supporter yet this turn. And we are going to do just that. We're going to play the Hilda, and we're going to play a Mega Starmie and 1 water. Okay, and we're going to put the water on Froki, and when we play Tenacity, if we play Tenacity, it's to grab another energy for Staryu. We're going to keep the Latias in play for now. Again, this deck has so many lines. You know, if you guys catch a more optimal play, by all means, let me know. But yeah, they're going to go for the KO. I have enough cards for it for the Froslass to knock me out. Okay. And so now we got to get rid of as many cards as we can. We are going to lead with Staryu because we want to save the Greninja for Lopunny. We have another one, so we are going to play it because we want to get rid of as many cards as we can. We have the Wise Compassion for the Starmie, so as long as we get rid of enough cards, we should be fine. In this situation, we're going to play Surfing Beach because we're going to want to retreat the Starmie, okay, and only play Grand Tree when it's our turn and we're ready to attack into the Lopunny. And right now we're going to play Tenacity because, like I said, we do need the energy. So we're going to grab 1 water and another Stadium in case they play theirs. Alright, and then we're going to play that right there, and they're only going to be able to do 200, so we're still fine. We're going to do 120, and then 50 to Binary. And then, next turn, we potentially have Knockout. You know, if I get Ignition Energy, whether it's Hilda or we can Determination, we can potentially knock out the Froslass. So let's see how this plays out. I wish you could see what they drew. Okay, there we go. Now, I'd say that we're in a better spot. Even though they have 4 prize cards, we are in a better position than they are. But let's see what we get. What do we have in there? Okay, nothing important. Okay, so we are going, in this situation, we are going to Wise Compassion. And we are going to play it again. And I would play this, but I don't want to blow it for a Latias. I'll let them do another 200 to me, that's fine. Because I can now knock out their Baniri and not have to worry about it afterwards. So that's great. There we go. Now and this is what I do against Dragapult, guys. This is like the line that I play. I keep Starmie out, and it literally takes over the whole game. And we got another of these. And we can literally play off the back of 1 Starmie the whole time, and it puts the pressure on them to respect it while you're establishing your board. Okay, so they have that. And this is why, what are they going to do? Okay, they're going to go for the KO. That's fine. We still have knockout next turn, and they only have 1 card in hand. But this is why we saved Night Stretcher, because we're going to do that again. And we also have Buddy Poffin, look at that. So we are actually going to Buddy Poffin instead of Night Stretcher, because we want to save Night Stretcher for the energy in case. And we're going to do that. And I'd say in this situation, make them choose. We're going to go to Snorunt for our own Froslass. And again, you want to give your opponent options, right? Like, what do I choose? How do I get rid of this? They are not in a good position after this, so I'd say that we're doing good. I am going to play the Night Stretcher now to get the energy, and it's less cards in my hand. And we're going to attach the energy to, I'd say they don't have I like Snow Run right now because if we get the Froslass, we're going to blow them out. Because if they're going to Lily, we're in a good position to follow up with a KO. So here we go. Another 120. They did not have Wise Compassion, surprisingly. And then we're going to put 50 on that. And there's the KO. 1, 2, 3. All right. And I wish you could see what that card is. Please show me. Sorry about that, guys. Again, I don't know what this card is. I hope it loads, because that could be bad. Okay, Meow. Oh, beautiful, Meowth. Oh, we're good. We're good, guys. We are going to take this game, and we're in the driver's seat. And we didn't have to even play Grand Tree. We barely had to play the deck. It just off one Starmie, as I've been preaching in my posts. Starmie carries this deck. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. See what they grab. Now, the dangerous thing is they're probably going to grab a boss. And that's dangerous for us because we are in KO range. So we have a lot of options right now. So we're going to do this. We're going to lower its HP to 280, right? And we're going to play Buddy Poffin. Okay, we don't actually want that because Meowth's going to be the better play here. Okay. We're going to play the Meowth. We need an energy. Surfer may have been the better play. That would have been the better play because I need to retreat. Yep, I'm not going to have game here. I should have retreated, so we're going to actually retreat right now, unless they grab the boss. And that's what we're going to get rid of. Next turn, we do have Rare Candy into Dusknoir, so we are going to bring up the other Staryu and create a situation where we win next turn. So let's see what happens. So my misplay here was I should have kept the Surfing Beach. Let's see what they do. Do they boss? Did they grab the boss? They grab Meowth. Yep, there we go. And they're going to grab boss. Oh, no, they didn't grab boss. That is very surprising. Did not expect that. I did not expect them to do that. I really thought they would have. I mean, unless they have Mirage Barrage. And they can't win with Mirage Barrage either. Okay, guys. We still got this. I think we still have this one. They're going to grab their card. I did misplay, but we still took this. I'm very surprised they went with Laser Determination. I really thought they would have gone for boss in case I retreat. And we are going to take this win now because of the play mistake. Okay. Oh, I didn't see. I didn't have. I see what happened there. All right, this is a very dangerous situation here. That's Lily. Okay, we are going to red card them. Oof, what do we do here? We're gonna have to retreat again. And we'll start with Snorunt. We'll do Ultra Ball. We'll get rid of the Dusknoir. And let's see. Do we want to keep Determination for next turn? We will get rid of Determination, keep the Dusclops. And we're going to grab Mega Froslass. Don't think I could have had game, I think, if I didn't red card. No, I didn't have game. That would have been 250. It wouldn't have been enough. Let's see what they do. All right. Can they take this win? Interesting. This is a different Lopunny list with Froslass. Really curious to see what their out is here. Yeah, because if they don't win here, I think we win. I just made it more difficult for myself after that misplay. But as you can see, the deck is very resilient. You still have the opportunity to crawl back in and play to your outs as best as you can. All right, I think it's over. They're going to grab enough. That one card is going to allow me to win the game, unless they don't grab the card. But I have Dusclops for the win anyway. All right, that was a tight one, scary, misplayed. I think it's because my first time doing this and wasn't thinking straight. So cut me some slack there. But we still got it, guys. We still got it. We are going to we're going to Dusclops, Curse Blast. And we're going to put that on Greninja. Make them grab a card. And it also goes to show you how this deck can navigate from multiple angles. We're now winning with Froslass, but we ran with Starmie, and we could have gone through Greninja. I mean, there's multiple ways to win with this deck. And now we're going to hit for 200 and win the game. And that is the deck, folks. That is the first game. I do apologize for the misplay. I would have definitely played a little better if I wasn't also commentating this game. But there we go. We still took the win. And let's take a look. Yep, there we go. Alright guys, thank you for watching the first match with this deck. I hope that you took a lot out of that first experience. Again, the misplay for me was at the surfing beach. I should have retreated Starmie first, brought up maybe Froslass or something else, and then play Lily's Determination and start setting up a Dusknoir. I ended up using Meowth instead, which took up the bench space. I really thought in my mind I had Dusknoir next turn with Rare Candy, but I never got the Dusknoir. It definitely is the nerves, but we still did it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back for more. Thank you.